Everybody, it's Donkey Storm, and today we're going to take a look at a Holy Paladin POV from Algeth'ar Academy. Just going to give you the commentary for the whole key, kind of go through my thought process on everything. It's a pretty clean run, so hopefully this helps you guys out, and if you like it, we will do some more down the line. So, getting started right away here. Algeth'ar is a little bit different than some of the other keys in the pool. It's not going to challenge you from beginning to end as far as like constant healing. Algeth'ar is a little weird, a little bit different than the other keys because it actually seems like you go for these long lulls where you really, as a healer, don't have to do a whole lot. And then you have like a huge burst of healing responsibility all at once. So we'll go through all that. I like to start out with verse. Basically in any key that I'm worried might kill me, just for the nice little extra damage reduction. Now this first pull is, pretty notorious. This is really a tank pull, or I don't know, maybe it's more a DPS pull than anything. Those lashers just need to die. As a tank, they just need to live as long as they possibly can. As a healer, you need to do everything you can to keep them alive. As you do so. So I throw out an armament. We're going to pop wings once everything's kind of grouped up here, and we're just going to do everything we can to keep this tank alive. We're going to pump heals into them. We're going to make sure. Now, we had a big unfortunate thing happen there with the hunter dying. Usually a DPS going down is just going to be kind of GG right there. You can't afford the loss of damage. In this key, we do somehow manage to pull it off. So we stick with wings. We can see this guy's at 5 stacks. His defense was about to fall off, so we hit Aura Mastery there to give him a little bit of a boost. His health doesn't seem to be yo-yoing too much yet, so we're just going to kind of continue to spam him. We give him sack. When you do that, you're going to need to be careful of your own health too, because they are going to be taking a lot of damage. Now he does manage to drop his stacks there, which is absolutely huge, and we've got one lasher down, so this is looking pretty good for us now. He's at 0 stacks again, so with these lashers at like 15%, we're probably going to be okay here. So this first pull is just all about helping your tank stay alive, and then praying that your DPS can do whatever they can to end that thing as quickly as possible. It didn't feel like a super fast pull, but they did get a lasher down quickly, which is really what it's all about. So going into first boss here, this boss from a healer POV, not too bad. You're going to stack on the tank, and we're just going to move around to the left, and we'll see there isn't a whole lot to worry about here until the poisons start to go out. So we popped wings right at the beginning of the pull, which means we're going to be getting it back right about now. But we're going to hold it, although you're going to see throughout this key I'm not a big fan of holding wings. But on a boss fight, we are going to hold it until some key moment. So this first bleed goes out. It doesn't hurt too bad. We've got our dwarf racial, we've got our bop if somebody messes up their bleed, or if we mess up our own bleed. But we're not going to throw that stuff out willy-nilly. So everybody's in the circle and bleeds are off, so we don't need to worry about anything like that. So right now we're just kind of pumping deeps best we can. We're going to circle around, and then this next group of adds is pretty much going to be where, so poison goes out, bam, we're going to hit wings. Healing starts to really kick up a notch. We're going to keep constant dispels on the tank, pretty much off CD, and we're going to just keep stacking on that marker and getting ready to move. That's pretty much this fight, and then it's just rinse and repeat. So this is full pug, by the way. I don't know any of these people. Just a random group, not in voice comms or anything. So, this is going to be pretty much the type of stuff that you can expect from a group of randos. I find with Algeth'ar that if you can get past the first pull, there's only a couple real pain points in this dungeon. The next one being the bird boss. whether or not your group kind of hits the DPS check there. And then, of course, lastly, the final boss, and just being able to stay alive long enough before you get, overwhelmed by balls. What a way to go. So yeah, we are the Spelling Tank on cooldown. We're moving around in circles. We are having no problem keeping these people alive. And boss is about to die. So we're going to move on to the mini-boss here. And there's a few ways I've seen this done. Kind of depending on the lust timing. So typically you're going to kill the mini-boss. And then you might go straight to the birds, or you might take a little detour to the left if you're way ahead of schedule, and do a pull to give less time to come up. Now in this group we're not way ahead, so we're going to head straight to the birds. So not a lot to say about this boss. If everybody just kind of does what they're supposed to do, as a healer you're just going to sort of DPS this guy down and move around the pillars to line of sight the circle. Yep, nothing's changed about this guy since all the way back in Dragonflight. So, not a lot to say there. Algeth'ar definitely, I think in my opinion and most people's, the hardest dungeon in the pool right now, just because it definitely has the least room for error. It's got a much tighter timer than just about any other dungeon in the pool. You really can't afford like random deaths here. And you'll see in this group we do have a couple unfortunate events. One in particular down the line here a little bit. But so we're going to hop over to the birds. Now when you're healing your tank on this birds, they do stack up a bleed. Some tanks seem to have no trouble with it. Some tanks seem to have a little bit of trouble with it, so it's definitely worth keeping an eye on that bleed and just being ready to heal up your tank if you need to. From our point of view, we threw a sack on him just because it's up and it's fun. We're throwing armaments at him for the absorption, and we're just DPSing these things down. So we're sitting about 33k DPS right now, which is, respectable, I'd say. We want to spend as much holy power on shield as we can to keep our mana flowing in, help out with deeps a little bit. Every little bit helps. I know that healer damage is not huge right now, but, imagine taking my, 40k deeps and slapping it onto, this hunter doing 170, and then all of a sudden everybody's over 200. So it definitely makes a difference. With these eagles, you do want to watch out for their screech ability. With one eagle, it's not going to kill anybody, but in the next pull where there's two, it actually can kind of hurt a little bit. Now I used my wings a while back. I hate leaving wings up for too long. If it's just going to sit up, you may as well hit it and just benefit from the DPS increase. Now, you could wings here because you can see there's one screech, and then the next one's coming right out again. I get everybody up, and then everybody gets hurt again. So we didn't really need wings for that, but popping wings as close to cooldown as you can is generally a pretty good thing to do, I think, just to take advantage of the damage, if nothing else. So we're trying to keep wings on cooldown. We're going to try to use it early on the bird so that we can hopefully get 2 uses out of it. That's the goal here. You won't really need it early, but you will want it late during that kind of crazy final phase here. So we're going to put the balls in the hole, for lack of a better term, and wait for Crawth to come down. Crawth doesn't seem to beat up tanks quite as badly as he used to, but he's kind of traded that for a final phase that, you just need your DPS to kill him. So he does put that bleed on your tank, so you're going to keep an eye on them. Doesn't seem like tanks are having too much trouble with this boss, but anytime the screech goes out, you want to make sure you're not mid-cast, and you want to have some kind of healing prepped. So like I said, we popped wings there. That's going to let us use wings on 2 screeches, and it's also going to let us use wings again at the end of the fight, which is a good thing. So we're popping wings. We're throwing out our Infusion of Light procs there. You can see that I'm going to use those really liberally all key long because they give you cooldown reduction on your armaments. So yeah, we're throwing out those Infusion of Light procs constantly and just keeping everybody topped off. And then once we get an armament, we're usually sending it at the tank unless we have a compelling reason to put it on somebody else for the absorption. So we're going wind first here. Gonna pop that in there and then get right back to hitting the boss. And we're just spending holy power on shield as much as we can. Word of glory when we need to, and keep throwing out those light procs. We get our haste buff right away. It's gonna help keep everybody alive here, although not too much of an issue yet. Yeah, and we're gonna probably, yep, there's Aura Mastery for this one. As a Holy Paladin, especially as Lightsmith, your biggest defensive, or I guess ways to manage big incoming damage, is going to be your wings, obviously, your Aura Mastery, and then I feel like your kind of third line of defense is like Bubble Sack on someone. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's what we do here. So, you know, we didn't have wings, we didn't have Aura Mastery, so we do go ahead and Bubble Sack. I mean, it's not like they would have died if we hadn't, but it just makes your life easier to just keep sending cooldowns every time you know there's going to be big damage so you don't get behind. So here's the fire phase. We're going to take a potion. We're getting ready to pop wings the second time. It just came up. We'll see when we hit that. I know it's going to be pretty soon. Damage isn't ramping up too badly yet. But this is the phase that's just like we need the boss to die. So there's wings with the screech coming out, and we're just going to pump healing. We're going to try and help with damage a little bit, and we're hoping that our DPS are going to be able to finish this thing off before we just sort of run out of gas here, which is going to be, you know, not too long. So, well, in this case, we probably still had a little gas in the tank. So these guys did a pretty good job getting that boss down. Alright, so we're heading across the bridge now, heading toward Vexamus. And this area can actually get a little bit rough with these vicious Ravagers being the mob you really want to watch out for. So whoever gets hit by these, in this case it's me, they're going to get a pretty nasty little dot on them, and then the Ravager's going to turn around and do a frontal at your group. So the frontal you have no control over other than just making sure you're not standing over it yourself, but the dot you definitely do. So keep an eye on who's taking that dot, be ready to heal them up right away, and you won't have too much of a problem. The rest of the mobs in here don't do anything too bad. We want to make sure we keep the abilities kicked as much as you can, or CC'd as much as you can. But there's that ambush going out on the hunter, so the hunter's health dropping pretty quickly there. We're just going to heal him back up and rinse and repeat. Keep an eye on your melee. They do like to eat that frontal sometime in some of the lower keys, but they're going to learn pretty quickly that they're not able to do that. Yeah, that Rift Breath hurts quite a bit. So in this key, we're only going to kill one of those. That seems to be pretty much the norm. We're just going to squeeze by here and on to the next pack. So this is another example of me just hating holding on to wings. You absolutely don't need wings for this pull, but there's also nothing coming up immediately in the next 2 minutes that I'm going to need them for, so I'm just going to send it and try and bump my damage up here a little bit. We're going to throw out some blinding lights to help with some stops here. As a healer, I think it's a good idea to send your stops earlier in the pull, because usually the DPS are focused on popping their cooldowns and doing a million damage. So you can kind of pick up the slack there and just send your stops out early. So I'm sending blinding light out a little bit earlier on in pulls. And, you know, if you're sitting on one of those abilities for a long time, it really doesn't do any harm to just send it out. But like I said, it's a good idea to send it early. You don't want to like mess up people's kicks and stuff just kind of by doing it randomly toward the end. So send it toward the beginning. So again, we got another Vicious Ravager here. Same stuff. Keep an eye out for people who are going to eat the dot and make sure they're healed up. And then also position yourself so you're not going to be where that frontal goes. So yeah, we sacked that hunter there. He tried to feign death that. Apparently that doesn't work. Or it didn't look like it worked for him there. Yeah, and we're just sending our heals. Couple things to mention. You know, we are playing Lightsmith, and armaments are something people ask about a lot, and like who to send them on. I think the tank is often the best choice for armaments because you just know you're always going to get the value out of the absorb. If you know somebody else is going to be taking damage, though, you could send it to them. But it's not like a PI. Where, you know, oh, I gotta send it like when this guy's doing his cooldowns because my, you know, my armament's gonna hit harder. You don't want to think of it like that. I would almost think of it more like like an augmentation of Evoker's prescience. Maybe not even quite like that, because it's gonna have a chance to do damage every time a person uses an ability. So everybody's using abilities. It doesn't really matter. From that point of view, who gets it? It's more, I think of it more as like from the damage absorption part of it, almost like a little mini shield. It does a lot of healing over the course of a key. So I would think of it more in those terms than like who do I put it on to do the most damage. It doesn't really work that way. This is a pretty big pull here that we decided to use wings for. That pull either is incredibly easy because kicks go out or people start dropping. This whole little area before Vexamus kind of like that. So yeah, this is a good place to just, you know, send some shields out on these mobs. You're going to do some decent damage, and you're always going to make sure your mana economy is looking really good if you keep sending shields out. You'll notice if you like never send shields or if you stop, all of a sudden that mana starts to really hurt. You really feel those holy lights that you're sending out. So when I get a proc, I try to send my free holy power on shields as often as possible and not lean on WOG too much unless I need to. So I don't know, I feel like Vexamus got easier from Dragonflight. I used to kind of find this boss to be a little bit difficult, but in this patch I haven't. He's got some pretty basic stuff to look out for. Obviously you want to soak every orb, or soak one orb per wave, sort of. Now you can be a hero and like pop your shield and like soak all of them, but I think there are better uses for your shield than that. So mana bombs, probably the most dangerous mechanic in this. People take a lot of damage from those mana bombs, so be ready to heal them back up. And then if you get a mana bomb yourself, you want to make sure that you're moving as you drop that pool. One thing I see a lot of people do with a lot of mechanics, let's see if I do it here. So yeah, pretty much. I could have moved a little bit more, but I didn't take the extra tick. So you take the tick of damage from dropping the pool, but you don't want to take another tick of damage from standing in the pool, because that can be deadly. So if you're moving while you drop the pool, you're, you know, making sure basically that let's see, here's another opportunity. Come on, donkey, you can do it. There we go. Okay, so I took the damage from dropping the pool, but I didn't take any more ticking damage from standing in it. So you don't want to like drop the pool and cast and like take a tick of damage from it. So yeah, it's a good place for like your mobile stuff. So this one I'm using defensives, and one thing we want to watch out for, just like that one right there. So he does another ability when he hits 100 energy, which can kind of stack with the mana bombs, which is, you know, one of the more dangerous moments of this boss. So be on the lookout for that. And if you see his energy getting high right when mana bombs are going out, you know, that's a good time to pop a cooldown or have something ready. So here we're using Aura Mastery, probably a mana bomb too late, but we're managing to survive the pull well enough. So Yep, this boss pretty much is orbs, mana bombs, and then your big arcane pulse. You do want to hope that your tank is keeping the frontal away, but you're not really in control of that. You are in control of everything else. So make sure people aren't dying to mana bombs or the big 100 energy ability, and you're going to be all set. So Vexamus is dead. And we're on the home stretch with 10 minutes to go. It's a pretty solid time for this place. Not typically a dungeon you're going to 2 chests in a pug at a decent key level anyway. So this double pull is not too dangerous as long as people are interrupting. We are going to pop wings for it just because we have no reason not to. And there is some damage going out. We're going to throw out our blinding light, and we're going to try and send as much shields as we can too. Always send those infusion of light procs. You're getting insane cooldown reduction on your armaments from that. So don't waste them. Even if like the pull is over and I am sitting on procs, I'll just send them on someone at full health to get the CDR on my armaments. Because more armaments is more healing, more damage. It's good stuff. So that pull pretty much gets wrecked. That's great. Now this last area is interesting. It's much different than it used to be in Dragonflight, or at least it feels like it to me. The big thing you need to watch out for here is the slam that the big lieutenant mobs do. So we'll see an example of that pretty shortly here. And this is actually probably the biggest boo-boo we make in the entire key. Yeah, these echo guys. So they do a slam that does probably a good like half health or more, I guess, depending on the key level you're doing, which is not, lethal on its own. Here it is, Arcane Smash. So smash hits. I used the defensive. DK used the defensive. Other people got smoked. Took them about down to half health. So having one of these guys in a pull, no big deal at all. Having 2 of these guys in a pull, like a little bit dangerous. But I've been seeing tanks pull 3 here toward the end, and that can really be spicy if people aren't prepared. So this is what's going to happen here. I think we should have split this into 2 pulls possibly, or done one of them with the previous pull. Because taking 3 of these guys is very dangerous. So here's the first smash. I pop my wings. Okay, we're healing people up. Second smash coming right now. And we're good. Here comes the third one. And we survived that. Now the next trio of smashes is where there's a lot of things we could have done differently. We'll see it in action here. So we're going to get 3 consecutive smashes again. And here comes the first one. So we propped Aura Mastery. We're working on healing people up. Here comes the second one. Bam. And then here comes the third one. And this is going to hurt. Yeah, so 1 death. Me. And if we just pause here for a second, like, what else could we have done? Let's back it up just a sec here. So, like, what else could we have done here? We had a lay on hands, but we didn't survive it. I don't know if this armament was actually already up. Defensive's coming off cooldown. We're 5 seconds out from bubble. Our health potion, I can't see, but we were pretty much one shot there. We could have used it prior to the smash going out. So there are a couple things we probably could have done there to survive. Another possibility is if, we're kind of like council style killing these mobs all equally. If we had maybe focused at least one of them down, then that third smash doesn't kill me there. But yeah, I probably could. I also had lay on hands. So there's a couple things I could have done to get my health up a little bit higher there. But I do think that the 3 echo guy pull is risky. That said, we had 1 death. It was only our second in the entire dungeon since like the first 2 seconds of the first pull. So not a huge deal. Now we got this last boss. This guy's a huge pain in the butt. I don't have any huge words of wisdom for you here. Just a couple like mistakes I see people make though. So when you get the circle debuff, you know, it hurts you and you need it to get dispelled. But what I see people do unnecessarily is like run away. So because they're afraid of dropping like a little, you know, bomb thing in the group. But that's only going to happen if it's your third stack. So you only drop a, you know, bomb pool or whatever you want to call that thing on your third stack of, you know, dragony bullshit or whatever this thing is. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called in the dungeon journal. But anyway, so if it's like your first stack or your second stack, you can just stand there and keep DPSing. It's not going to leave a pool. Now, if you know it's your third, then you do want to, you know, pull it away. This boss I've found is just like hugely dependent on the tank's ability to kind of use the room. And also people not getting hit by balls, obviously. So he had a ball-related death there. But this tank is doing a really good job of kind of keeping things clear. Like, we got all the balls smashed up in the doorway there, and we're just going to, like, clockwise work around the room, which is perfect. And it just makes it so much easier. Because this boss is just no fun. And it always is going to get messy at some point. But if you can delay that, that's great. So yeah, here, like, we dispelled the hunter, right? And that was only his second stack, so it leaves nothing. The tank, that was his third stack, so it did leave a pool. So just keep an eye on that. If it's not your third stack, you don't need to like go run off into Narnia for no reason. Other than that, I think as a healer, there's no big moment in this poll that you need to pop cooldowns. It's just like when you start to feel overwhelmed. I think the thing to remember though is like you need to keep yourself alive. Like, don't stand there and cast and like eat a ball to the face because somebody else screwed up. Like, you need to keep yourself alive first and foremost, especially if you're playing Paladin. You're the B-res. You can't afford to be dying. Unless it's like the tank, obviously, but tanks don't seem to have much problem on this fight. So anyway, we did it. Congratulations, team. And that is Algeth'ar Academy. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you found it helpful. If you did, leave me a comment and I'll do another one. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.